Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF44 coming at you in another video. All right, so, um, yeah, Mrs. Westbrook has called out Skip Bayless for the second time, asking him not to use her last name in the term of Westbrook. She has asked him not to do that personally for a second time on Twitter. Skip Bayless had tweeted out something in regards to our new rookie Max Christie, and he said something along the lines of now Bron and Westbrook something. This is one of those situations where I'm saying, yeah, is it? This is how do I express this properly? I think the tide is changing on what people are going to want from sports media, and it's going to be on people like Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith to jump ahead of that thing before you're looked at as the enemy, before you realize the game is changing. That's what I would say to him if I were in a think room with Undisputed and those guys. I'd be like, okay, we need to start looking for ways to scale back what is being perceived as bullying, because bullying is now being looked at in a different way. It's being redefined. Okay, bullying is being redefined, and what was acceptable is no longer going to be acceptable in some ways. And being in tune with that and being in touch with that will determine how well you do going forward and how well you're able to navigate through the waters that are ahead of you. People are not as open to being spoken to and being spoken about in ways that maybe they were okay with maybe 10 years ago. People have more money now. We've gone through a lot of different eras where people are talking about their experiences and their identity and wanting certain types of justice and things of that nature, and just overall people are getting less and less tolerant with pundits who speak negatively about athletes, particularly I guess in this case, for the sake of gathering attention of the masses. You got to understand that the temperature of the masses is changing. It's essentially what I'm saying. We all don't necessarily look at that the same way. Just like we evolved with certain words we aren't going to use. We're never going to use that word now. We would have laughed at that word back in the day, but now, that's not going to ever come out of our mouths. We know better. That's kind of what this is becoming in regards to the way people talk about certain people. It's like, okay, it garners a lot of attention. The numbers probably still tell them that if they talk bad about Bron, they talk bad about Westbrook and play his blooper reel, that people are still going to tune in. That's because a lot of us are still in that mentality. But what I'm saying is, I'm starting to sense that there are more and more people coming around and saying, you know what, I can't laugh with you no more. It's not as funny anymore. After some of the stuff we've been through in our society over the last several years, these moments are piling up to where it's not as funny anymore to laugh at people. You know what I mean? In certain situations, it's not as funny anymore to just belittle somebody repeatedly every day. As a means of pointing attention at them in the league. I think we're getting into a place where people want to be a little more sensitive, more knowledgeable about how our actions and our energies can affect people's mental health, and how the things that we say can drive somebody to hurt themselves or others. Like, these things are more common conversation. So with them being more common conversation, I think the desire to be drawn toward that type of humor and that type of media is starting to change. I don't think people feel that way no more. So that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, do a lot of people look at Mrs. Westbrook and say, you know what, you married an athlete, this is what comes with it, you guys benefit greatly. But there are also a lot of people who are saying, you know what, yeah, you need to relax, Skip, because Mrs. Westbrook has mentioned that she doesn't like this. She has mentioned that it affects the children. And that should be where the line is drawn as it pertains to Skip Bayless or anyone else's willingness to say those things. It's like, okay, once a mother expresses that her children's mental health is affected, shouldn't that be the line for all of us to say, you know what, yeah, maybe we're not going to use that particular one. Let's find another way. We want that. I think the masses would love to see that example from those guys, to just read the room and just kind of tone it down. Stop using that particular phrase at the very least. It becomes a respect thing. It's no longer about entertainment. She's asked you personally, and on behalf of her family and her children, It should not no. It should no longer be about. Now this is where my opinion comes in. It should no longer be about Skip Bayless and whether or not Skip Bayless is saying certain words. It should be about Fox now, Fox Sports, and their willingness to let certain things be said after these type of things have been said. Once Mrs. Westbrook said, yo, I don't want to hear Westbrook anymore, it should have been on Fox Sports to say we will no longer use Westbrook in our statements. That way, if Skip Bayless says it, he has to go through the reprimanding process. You take it out of Skip's hands. It should be about the corporation and how they want to represent themselves. And if this is a reflection of who they are, then that's another conversation we need to talk about. Because a lot of people already feel a certain way about Fox as a whole, and we know that. But if you're going to continue to allow this black woman to be disrespected, right, then there's going to be a certain energy that's going to be taken from that. It's going to be a certain level of disrespect that people are going to start to look at it in a certain way. So if that's what you want, and if that's what you're on, then that's how it's going to be taken, Fox. But you got to understand that people like myself, that's exactly where my head goes. Well, how do you feel about what the person you're paying is saying about that person? And if that's the representation that you want to be, then we need to question whether or not we want to patronize you if we feel opposite. So that is what these corporations are going to be faced with as the tide turns, as people start getting less and less tolerant with this type of media. You're going to start seeing people no longer looking at the talent and start looking at the guys above them saying, why are you asking them to say this? Why are you allowing them to say this? And is this your doing? Are you disrespecting Mrs. Westbrook? That's what I want to know. So, it's not about Russell. Because Russell Westbrook isn't the one expressing how they're feeling disrespected in this situation. So I didn't even mention Mr. Westbrook. It's not about him. It's about Skip Bayless's willingness to disrespect Mrs. Westbrook. And so when we talk about black women need to be protected on this channel, yeah, that's the spirit in which I speak. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.